So, welcome to Beauty of Colors podcast. Courtney, it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm so grateful.
You're very welcome. So, Courtney, tell the listeners about you and how did you embrace the power of your own story?
Good question. Like you said, my name is Courtney. I live in Vegas. I've been here about 30 years or so. Raised my children in my career in healthcare here. Like everyone, we all have our journey and our footsteps that we take. It's not about the destination, it's always about the journey. That's where we get our wisdom, right? Um, like many of your listeners, there's overcoming hardships and things. My parents were divorced at a young age, so I had, two parents in different areas, and you just learn to survive. You learn how to pivot, you learn tenacity, you learn a lot of things, growing up, and your zest for life and what you're passionate about. And I always knew that I was going to be in healthcare. Like I've always been a caregiver at heart. I love people. I love exchanging energy. I love hugging people. I love feeling them release their energy when you give them a tight squeeze and just let them just be in the moment. Like I love that. That is my thing. Um, I've survived sexual assault and divorce and losing a child, which was absolutely devastating, of course. But part of those things is overcoming and deciding how you're going to respond. Life happens while you're not watching, and you get the one thing that you can control is how you respond, right?
Yeah.
So I found myself in a club that nobody ever wants to be a part of, but for myself, being a servant, even in my pain, helped me get through it. And serving others and their journey made such a difference for me. My son was an organ donor. And at the age of 18, unfortunately, he passed away. However, his gift of life saved 6 lives and enhanced the lives of over 75 others. And it has been such a beautiful way to have a relationship with grief. Grief and gratitude most definitely occupy the same space in my world. And part of my journey as being a coach is to teach others to find that in themselves and find resilience and overcoming, which has put me on this journey as a speaker and a podcaster myself and an author. It's just a way to share your story and your message because your story isn't always meant for you alone. It's important to share your journey and your wisdom because chances are there are at least one individual that could learn from you, and that's being very modest. So this is an amazing opportunity to speak with your guests and your community. And again, thank you so much for letting me pop on with you.
So, Courtney, what are some of the steps you use to empower individuals to transform adversity into strength and purpose?
Sure. It really comes down, and I'm learning this too. What I'm telling you is things that I'm learning myself. So yeah, um, but what I'm finding is it really comes down at the core to your identity. And I'll give you this example. Two people say want to quit smoking, and you say, okay. One person says, I'm trying to quit, and the other person says, I'm a non-smoker. That's a huge difference. One person is identifying with the outcome, and one person is identifying with the identity of not being a smoker anymore, if you get what I'm saying. When it comes to hardships, challenges, any of those things that we carry around, and for many of us, we don't even realize that some of these behaviors and habits and things are sitting in an identity that we don't even know we have, much less going to address it. So sitting down and finding those parts of us, certainly starting at where you are and where you want to be and working backwards. That's how I work with my clients. I need to know where you are and I need to know where you want to go. And then we can fill in the middle part with what is the best way for you, and how do you learn best, and what is your, like, I'm a human design practitioner, what is your human design, how are you made, how do you relate to the world. These are all things that I implement into the coaching, and so it really does depend on what those overcoming obstacles are. Are you trying to define maybe what success is, and is that where we're wanting to take you? Well, we need to figure out what success looks like to you before we can address how we get there. Or maybe you're coming and get through grief, like myself, which is a wound that never heals. It never closes. You don't even get a scar over grief. Grief does not heal that way. You learn to live with it, and you learn to carry it with you, just like everything else that you carry along with your journey. So it really is perspective and mindset shift on how you relate to those things, that are those challenges, and maybe reforming them into something else. Um, each and every one of us share the same moment. We have the same 24 hours in a day. We each attach meaning to those moments separately. So the power really does lie within us. So if we maybe change the meaning, we can change the feeling. And that is kind of how I address individuals while we're going on this journey together. Because most certainly I learn from all of my clients, as hopefully, they can learn some tips and tricks from myself. I think we're all learning from each other, which is why doing podcasts and highlighting individuals and their journeys is so incredibly important.
Excellent. So tell us about your book, Courtney. Why did you write that book and what's
Sure.
the genre? Who is it for?
Sure. Absolutely. Oh man. After after Michael's motorcycle accident and the journey of becoming an organ donor mom, a mother of an organ donor, uh, there was a lot of publicity. It actually went international. His story went to Russia and Nigeria and at Brazil. I was getting contacted by so many people, not only uh, giving good graces of your loss, and just acknowledging the condolences, which was beautiful. I realized that so many people just wanted to share. Some people who never even really shared that part of their journey felt comfortable to open up, because you know what, now we've created a community. Even if our common thread was losing a child or grief, that is a community even still. So these individuals reached out. I was communicating with so many folks, and it was just an awareness, like, you know what, there's so many people who are sharing a similar journey, whether they're organ donors or recipients, or maybe they are in transplant centers, or some have something to do with transplant. So I decided to start a book called Transplant Hope. I forget how to do that so that it shows. Oh, I know, like this.
I
There
just,
you go.
yeah.
Yes,
Put it up.
Transplant Hope.
Mhm,
It is actually a book with 11 different chapters.
mhm.
They are all written individually by each individual, so it is a collaboration effort. I wrote a chapter. My ex-husband, Mikey's dad, wrote a chapter, and my son's double lung recipient, Harold, also wrote a chapter, amongst so many other folks who were brave enough to put pen to paper and share their story. It really is. It is called Transplant Hope: Inspiring Stories of Donor Heroes and Gifted Lives. It was released last January and hit bestseller, and I'm so grateful for that. Again, there are so many folks, even if transplant isn't relatable directly, perhaps there's a loss. Perhaps they may be needing a transplant and haven't gotten one yet. It's just a book of hope and inspiration, certainly for individuals that share that common thread of loss. And we've got, and again, I've got a podcast under that name as well, where I host and interview, and we chat with families of a variety of stories, of course, and across the globe. So it is such an honor to be able to be that place, a safe place create a safe place for people to share their stories and feel connected to something because grief can be very isolating. I look at it like you're standing in the middle of a subway station and people are just running right and left and forward and back and things are just moving, but you're just standing still because sometimes you're literally just frozen. And not wishing anybody else to have this type of pain, but it's kind of like you're screaming so loud in the middle of the tunnel and just like, please, please, I'm hurting. And people are just going on about their day. And so it's really important for those of you who are struggling with grief or a loss of any kind. It doesn't have to be a person, it could be a career, a relationship. I mean, it could be a number of things. But really kind of finding that gift in the loss and what is the lesson in all of those things. It's very, very helpful.
Wow. So, Courtney, how can the listeners get in touch with you? Where can they get a copy of your book? Do you have any upcoming like seminars or any courses on your website, or just let the listeners know where they can get in touch with you?
Sure. I love that. So I am on Instagram. I use Courtney B like boy Kaplan because there are other Courtney Kaplans. So I threw my middle initial in there. So Courtney B Kaplan is in there. My website is also by the same name, Courtney B Kaplan. And there is a contact form in there. I would love, love, love to connect. Facebook, same thing, Courtney B Kaplan. I'm all over Facebook. Um, and the book is available on Amazon and also on my website. So certainly reach out. I'm working on some courses at the moment, but I will definitely, once your individuals reach out to me, we'll be in a little community. I'll keep them updated on the courses. But definitely, I've got a little booklet. It's 20 pages on 7 things that you want to hear when your heart is broken. And it's just a little ebook. So I'm happy to share that with your listeners. I've got that done so far. But yeah, I'm definitely working on some resilience. I'm a resilience coach, so I'm working on some content and classes and videos and structure along with my human design practice to kind of help folks and narrow in and engage in what their goals are and move to the next step.
Sounds great, Courtney. So, do you have, if you have something to say to the listeners, your last words to the listeners, what would you say about sharing their journey and not keeping it to themselves, but giving them that boost, enable so they can be able to share their stories and make a difference
Sure,
in the world? Yeah.
sure, sure, sure. I would say, gosh, that's a really good question. There's so much. I would say start with the sitting with the journey, sitting with the journey. The journey is, and the truth is that up to this point, you've survived 100% of the challenges that you have faced thus far. We're not attaching good, bad, or indifferent. They just are. It is very easy to feel sometimes that it's too hard. I can't do this. Who would want to hear me? All of this kind of self-talk that
Mhm.
we have sometimes. It's really important to sit with the truth and allow your body to bring up that truth for you because our mind will tell us things that just aren't true. So find out where that's coming from, focus on the truth, be be aware of how you talk to yourself. If you wouldn't say it to someone else, you damn sure shouldn't say it to yourself. So kind of be mindful of your self-talk and know that this too shall pass. It really will. It really will. It doesn't feel like it will at the time, but it really will pass. And you will be able to look back and what you thought was a mountain might actually be a little hill in perspective. It's all about perspective.
Wow. Well, Courtney, thank you for sharing your story and thank you for being on Beauty of Colors podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.